Welcome back to Music Appreciation. We're going to be looking at chapter 35 today, which is Mozart and the classical opera. So we talked about opera in previous musical periods. So opera, remember, is where the action is sung instead of acting, talking, and in order to move there's never any like dialogue. Anytime to like move the action along, there's recitative, which moves it on, and then the arias, which that display the virtuosity of the singers. So we have opera seria or serious, and it's an Italian opera. It's highly formalized a genre, rigid conventions, and it was heralded from the Baroque tradition, usually aristocratic audiences, socially elevated tradition. It has recitatives and arias that display the virtuosity of the star singers, and the stories were from classical antiquity, kings and heroes. So that's what opera seria. During the classical period, we also had comic opera, which was a lighter genre and a very simpler style, and reflected human emotions more realistically. And usually it was very sarcastic and ridiculous. So these were flourished in Europe. In England, they were the ballad or dialogue opera. We have some in Germany, as well as the opera comique in France and the opera buffa in Italy. So it was supported by the rise in merchant class, and most of these were sung in the native text of the place where they were being performed. Not all of them, but most of them were sung in the vernacular. So the Italian opera buffa was popular throughout Europe. So that's why if you go back and look at a lot of operas back in the time, they're written in Italian for that very reason. They're lively, down-to-earth plots, farcical situations, humorous dialogue, popular tunes, so way more enjoyable than a very serious opera. So kind of really ridiculous in a way. The ensembles end each act talking and reflecting about what has happened in the acts. There is an important social force. It's a lot of satire, the aristocracy, and messages about social unfairness and rights of individuals. And Mozart really loved opera buffa or comic opera. So Mozart's most famous opera is Don Giovanni, and it has elements of both the opera buffa and the opera seria. So it has some serious aspects and actually ends very tragically, but has a lot of comic. You'll see with one of the characters, he's kind of a comic relief. So the libretto was Lorenzo da Ponte, who wrote the words of the opera. Mozart wrote the music. And it recounts the tale of Don Juan. And Don Juan was a character from literature that was known to be a womanizer and would go off and prey on women, basically. So the main characters is Don Giovanni, who is an aristocrat and a moral womanizer. We have Leporello, who is Giovanni's servant, and he's kind of the comic relief for the play. We have Donna Anna, who is a noble woman, the Commendatore, Donna Anna's father. This is a picture from Don Giovanni. Don Ottavio, Donna Anna's fiance. Don and Donna are like Miss So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so. Donna Elveria, one of Don Giovanni's conquests, who's one of the women that he's going after, in addition to pursuing Donna Anna. And Zarellina, a peasant girl. And Massetto, who is a peasant but a fiance to Zarellina. So basically, in the summary, Don Giovanni tries to seduce Anna, and in the process, her father tries to stop this, and he ends up killing her father in a duel. And Anna's fiance swears to avenge his death. That's Don Ottavio. And the servant of Don Giovanni, Leporello, invites the graveyard statue of the Commendatore. It actually comes to dinner and kind of comes to life, and basically rebukes Don Giovanni and says basically if he doesn't change his ways and not be a womanizer, then hell is basically going to come down and take him to hell. So that's what happens. And he goes to hell. Or the underworld. So we have a confident Don Juan ordering Leporello to invite the statue of the Commendatore to dinner. So he's like, basically, let him invite him. It's, whatever. And then he ends up, dying. So we're going to listen to a couple of these arias. I don't want to listen to all of them. There's a really famous one that I want you guys to listen to, but this aria is in between Donna Anna and Don Giovanni, or sorry, my bad, one of his lovers, Donna Elveria. He was spurned by Don Giovanni, and Don Giovanni and his servant. So there's two main sections, and it has a short orchestral introduction and the soprano aria interjections from Don Giovanni. So, like, basically, what's happening here is, it says, my dear lady, this is my catalog of the beauties my master made love to. Basically, these are all of his conquests, and blah, 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 and how, oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. My bad. I was like, that's not right. So she comes, basically interjects, telling out how bad he is. He broke my heart. He broke, because she was spurned by him. So he broke my heart, and, I loved him, and oh my gosh, I'm so angry at him. And Don Giovanni is like, do you hear her? I abandoned by her lover, poor girl. Let's try to ease her pain. And Leporello is just like, like a sarcastic comment, just as he consoled 1,800 of them. And so basically finds out who she is. And it's a really comedic exchange there. So we're going to listen to it real fast. I don't want to listen to all of it. My mom is texting me. We're going to watch it so that you can see the action. So I have the introduction for the strings. There's Don Giovanni and his servant. So she's looking for Don Giovanni. So he's commenting on what she's saying. He basically overheard what she said. So that's the comic little side sarcastic remark. So that gives you kind of an idea. And I want to show you the famous scene with Zaralina. He's trying to seduce Zaralina. So we have recitative beginning here. Basically, he's telling her he's going to take her to his villa and give her all of his riches. And she's basically saying, I would like to, but it's not proper. It's like, come to me. She feels sorry for her fiance. So that basically gives you an idea of that as well. And we'll go back and you can get an idea of kind of a more comic. Oh, there's not. Oh, there's not a video. But this is Leporello talking about all of his conquests of Don Giovanni. So anyway, that's an example of comic opera. Well, kind of a combination of the two, but opera buffa and opera seria as well. So if you're interested, I will definitely, one of your YouTube videos that I will put down for your concert critiques will be probably an opera, so that way you can watch it, and I'll try to find one that has English subtitles that you can read, because yeah, I don't understand Italian either. I believe Don Giovanni's in German. But anyway, that is opera and Mozart, so we'll be going on to the next chapter, which will be talking about Mozart's Requiem.